Welcome folks, it's week one of our 52-week year-long video series about golf. And the first video we want to do is something very basic, very foundational, but can set us up for success or failure depending on how well we do it. And it's the grip, okay? Now, world number one, Scotty Scheffler, has a training aid that can definitely be recommended to work on getting more of a neutral grip. But not everyone needs to play a neutral grip. Sometimes we prefer a little bit stronger, sometimes we prefer a little bit weaker, and we can manipulate that with the hands and how we grip the club. I want to talk through, there's a few different grips that we can do as we start to kind of advance as a golfing kind of age. We can start to see players start to move to different grips that feel more comfortable for them, obviously addressing fundamentals and being able to look at where there might be complications with a certain grip, we can start to adjust them. So, in terms of taking our hands onto the grip, we want to make sure when we grip the club that we have our thumb, lead hand, a little bit thumb off to the side. When we take the grip and we put the club down in front of us, ideally we want to see maybe two knuckles, so that lead knuckle here and that second knuckle here when we place the club down. Okay, the reason why we say two knuckles is kind of a neutral grip position. So if we look at the club face and we take our grip, we see two knuckles, that's going to keep the club face relatively square. If I go to one knuckle only showing, so when I grip the club and I can only see the first knuckle here, I'm going to have what's considered maybe a weaker grip. If I go to 2.5 or 3 knuckles and I can see 1, 2, 3, I'm going to have what's considered a strong grip. Okay, so I always say to start off with 2 knuckles so I can see the first one and I can see the second one. If I can take my grip, I can get into a neutral grip position here, being able to see 2 knuckles. Easiest way that someone can potentially feel that they're getting the club in the right position of the hand, we want the club to be sitting here across this heel and into the fingers kind of here. Okay, so to take the grip, sometimes people find it really beneficial if they put the club down flat on the floor and they take their hand here and then all of a sudden they can bring it up, they can see 2 knuckles and it's sitting in the right part of the hand and through and into the fingers. Okay, from here, trail hand. Now it depends whether you're a right-handed or left-handed golfer, but trail hand. Trail hand has 3 different positions. The first one would be a baseball grip. So again, I'm kind of bringing my hand close to where I see my lead hand. I place it on the club here, and all of a sudden I have my grip. So I can go here, I can see 2 knuckles on this hand, I come here, and I can see a couple knuckles, 1 to 2 knuckles on my right hand. Now that would be considered neutral and kind of even, okay? Second thing that people do, this is where we start to get more towards the more advanced golfers and people that are looking to strengthen their grip. We will see players do what's called an overlap. So they take their trail hand and they place their little finger in the gap between their lead finger and their middle finger, crossing it over here, and they will take that grip. Okay, so again, we can see 1 to 2 knuckles, we can see 2 knuckles here on that lead hand. Okay, so that's the second grip that we'll see. The third one's called an overlap. We take that index finger and we link it with the trail hand, little finger. So we cross it over there, it's called an overlap grip. So on my lead hand, we can see 1 to 2 knuckles. On my trail hand, we can see 1 to 2 knuckles again. So it looks like this kind of overlapped position here, and we can see that the hands are overlapped with the fingers, okay? Now what that's gonna do is gonna slightly tighten the grip. So if we start with a baseball grip, there can be a lot of movement in and around the hands. As soon as we go to an overlap, we can kind of feel that they're a little more connected. Some people, when they do the overlap, feel a real strong connection with the grip, obviously stronger connection potentially with the shaft and then the club head. Everybody's a little bit different, okay? So depending on what you prefer for your grip, just play around with it. Depending on kind of your skill level, you can play around and find what grip feels most comfortable. Now, I mentioned at the start that some people prefer a slightly stronger grip. So what they would do with their lead hand, if this is considered a neutral grip where we can see 1 to 2 knuckles, we will turn it over and we'll see 2.5, sometimes maybe even 3, okay? That would be considered more of a strong grip. When we put the right hand on, if we wanted to play a strong grip with a strong right hand, we're gonna be able to see the 2 to 3 knuckles, and then from here, we're gonna place that right hand on but this V here is going to stay towards that right shoulder. So we wouldn't want to see too much of an over here with that trail hand, because what's going to happen now is we're going to neutralize what the left hand is trying to do. So if our left hand that's strong, but we place the trail hand on and it's strong again, that's going to just neutralize the grip out. So if we're trying to play a strong grip, we want that right hand to not neutralize the strong left hand. So try and make sure that it stays where that V is pointing up to that trail shoulder. So when you put that club down, you can see that that V points up towards kind of the armpit or the shoulder, okay? And that's going to give you that kind of feel of a stronger right side. Likewise, if we've got a really strong grip and we need to make it a little bit weaker, we're trying to bring it back to maybe 2 knuckles. Sometimes people play a really weak grip and they'll see maybe 1. And so just that lead knuckle there. And so what we're trying to now do is get that right hand a little further over as well, or trail hand a little further over. And so that's going to be more of a weaker grip. So depending on where you are and what you're looking for, trying to get to a relatively neutral position is good. Again, we see Scotty Scheffler with the grip trainer. He's playing a very neutral grip and he's trying to make sure that everything's relatively easy for him to deliver that club and he's not having to do too much work with the hands. So he'll play a very neutral grip, and a grip trainer can be something that can help you guide where your hands are and develop a feel for what neutral looks like. So that's the grip. You can play a bit more of a strong grip, you can play a bit more of a neutral grip, or you could play a little more of a weaker grip depending on what you're looking for. Maybe shot shape, maybe feel through the hitting area. But neutral is a great place to start, and then you can kind of adapt based on what you're seeing. The grip is so important because it will impact what happens with the club face. It will also impact what happens as we start to take the club away, start to transition, and then impact obviously is going to be the big one. So play around with the grip, see what feels good, invest in a grip trainer if you need to, and put it on a club that you can practice with, and be able to just get a feel for what a grip looks like. Again, you can go with a baseball grip. There are people that do it. You can go with an overlap. There are professionals that do that. Oh, sorry, an overlap, or an interlock, okay? So you can go with whichever one feels most comfortable for you and be able to play that grip and see what it does to the impact with the contact and the strike, and then be able to just adjust it based on what you're seeing from a ball flight. If you're seeing something that's going too far right, maybe make the grip a little stronger. If you're seeing something that's going too far left, maybe make the grip a little bit weaker and start to play around with that and see what works best for you. Okay, I hope this video helps you understand what the grip looks like and how we can get more of a neutral grip. Check out the notes below, and that's going to give you a written version of this so you can kind of see it and be able to kind of implement it as we're talking about it. But again, finding that neutral grip is a great place to start, and adjusting based on what you're seeing in your swing is going to be the key for you to be able to get more consistency and be able to have control of the club face. Go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel. We'll be back in week 2 for another video, and we're still working through those fundamentals to be able to help you play your best golf.